Hey guys, in this video we're going to be doing an end grain cutting board. So I've been wanting to try one of these out for a little while, so figured I'd go ahead and make a video for it. There's a lot of videos on YouTube of this already. A lot of them are some pretty intricate designs and stuff, but for this I just want to go with something that's super simple, something that'll look good in any kitchen, and just a more subtle design. So basically you're just going to want to get your wood of choice. I'm going to use walnut. Maple's also a good choice, but basically you just want to get a wood with a really dense end grain, and that's just so that your cutting board will end up being a lot more durable, as well as bacteria resistant and things like that. So make sure you get a good, nice hardwood for that. My design, I'm going to have end grain cubes are going to be showing. Obviously this surface is going to be showing, but I'm going to want to cut this board in half, and so I can have smaller pieces because I don't want these wide end grain strips. So just get calipers. This is just a cheap pair, so I don't care if I'm marking with them or anything, but I've got it set to half of the width of this. Really easy way to check is if you put it up to the edge, can mark a point right there, and if you go back to this edge and that's the same spot, you've got halfway dead center. I know it's kind of unless you already know that, but just a really good way to check. So just go in there and you're going to want to scrape a line in there. You can see that right there. I'll probably highlight it with a Sharpie or something so you can see it a little better. I don't have a table saw, but I've got a sliding miter saw, so that's what I'm going to be using. So I'll just get that set up and ready to be able to cut some of this board. Alright, so I've got this little jig set up with these machinist blocks that'll help me perfectly center each board. Here are all 4 pieces of that board cut up. Alright, so now we just need to glue these together. It's going to be like this. Now I don't want these to, the end grain should look fine, but I'm just going to scramble them up just so I don't have any of the matching pieces next to each other, because I want a random look to it. And maybe I'll flip every other one, or I'll do it randomly even. There, we'll just go with that. So now we've got this. Now I just need to glue everything and clamp it all together. I'm going to be using these aluminum rod clamps, or aluminum bars is what they are. Now I'll just need some Elmer's wood glue or whatever. Just make sure what you're using is non-toxic, because you don't want to use the dangerous glue on a cutting board, obviously. So, I'm going to pull these apart. This needs to be wide enough to fit here. Alright, now I just need to spread glue on this whole surface here, and we don't need to put anything on this one because it doesn't need glue on any of the outer edges. I'm just going to be using this scrap of wood to spread the glue. Alright, now we just want to put clamping pressure until we get a little bit of squeeze out from the glue. Just making sure it's all lined up. And go ahead and tighten these down. Alright, that looks good. Now we'll just leave that to dry. I'll come back in a little bit just to scrape the glue that's coming out off. Alright, this is how I've got it set up after about 15 minutes. I just scraped off all the excess I could and then used these two boards right here to straighten everything up, and then just added an additional clamp in the middle, and that's just to make sure that the boards aren't kind of cupping like that when they're being squoze together on both ends. Shouldn't be a big issue, but that'll just help with that in case there's any problems. The reason I'm using this board again is just to keep this line right here as straight as we can, and that'll just help without, just save time later is what that's good for doing, because we don't have to flatten everything out. So now I just gotta wait for it to dry. Alright, so I left it overnight, let it dry, everything's still nice and straight. So I can go ahead and take off all the clamps. Here it is. I'll use probably a combination of a palm sander or an orbital sander and a planer to get it all smoothed out. Alright, so now that I've got it kind of roughed out with the planer, I'm going to take the orbital disc sander with 220 grit on it and just clean it up. Here it is, ready to be cut up once again, and then we're going to glue and clamp it together one more time. Alright, so we got all these cut up. I'm going to clean them up on the sander a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and glue them back together. Alright, I'm just going to be stacking them in here. I'm going to be picking the best side, just so I'll have the worst edges facing down. Alright, here we go. And then I'm going to stagger every other one. Hopefully that'll help make this stronger as well. So I took it to the miter saw and chopped off the edges. Now I just got a lot of sanding to do. Alright, so I sanded between 60, 120, and 220 grits. Now I've got it pretty close to, well, I've got the final finish, and now we just need to add the oil. I'm going to be using mineral oil. You can go buy, I think, butcher block oil at the store, but I've heard this is basically the same thing, so this is all I'm going to be using.